This is the Fantasy Football Unlimited podcast with your host, Kevin Murray.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Unlimited podcast. On this episode, we have a guest that might be small in stature. However, she packs a mighty punch when it comes to the sports media content and entertainment that she puts out. It's the host of the Stephie Smalls Show herself, the one and only Stephie Smalls. Welcome in, Steph.
How are you? I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me on. This is going to be a blast.
Excited to have you on. I can remember November 2020, I composed a tweet that said, if you're looking for a funny and entertaining Twitter account to follow, at Stephie Smalls has you covered. It's obviously it's been a wild ride since then.
Yes.
That was around the time where you just like burst onto the Twitter scene, injecting so much excitement, fun, entertainment, humor. It's fun to look back at those memories.
Yeah, I feel like the year, like time has just flown by. Like you look back and I don't even know. And I think COVID probably contributed to that.
Sure.
I know it contributed to me even ending up in the like opportunities I've had, but it's so funny because time is just flying by. 2020 doesn't seem like that long ago, but we're approaching 2024 here.
Yeah, it is pretty wild to think about. It's been a wild ride for you. You were absolutely hilarious from day one. You obviously, you brought in your mix of Daniel Jones and Giants love into the Twitter sphere. And now, did you grow up just as a big sports fan? When did that start for you?
Yeah, so my grandma, who people that do know me and follow me was one of the biggest influences in my life. She's behind me one way or the other. So she passed away last October, but she was a huge Yankees fan. So that's kind of where it started. On top of that, I come from a big Italian family, not too big, but Italian family on the East Coast, and Sundays were for meatballs and spaghetti and sauce or gravy, whatever your family decides to call it. And we sat down on the couch and we watched the Giants. And it was like, it almost romanticized football for me because, it's like the one time everyone's sometimes getting along and everyone's just at peace, like watching, not at peace, but watching football together. Obviously grew up watching my younger brother, who's 6 years younger, play football. I played sports myself, didn't get the chance to play football, but my fandom comes from my mom though, which is something that a lot of people don't know. I know some people have listened to me say it a couple times, but yeah, it comes from my mom. My mom's a huge Giants fan.
That's awesome. Yeah. So when did you first discover fantasy sports?
So it's so funny. And I don't think I've only told this story like a couple times, but I started, how you can join just public leagues. I was very into football. So this is probably, we're looking into like approaching I want to say freshman year of college. So somewhere between like 2010, 2011, maybe it might have been 2011. Adrian Peterson, it was a good year.
I love it.
Yeah, it was a good year. That was a fun year for fantasy, especially running back wise.
Yeah, no, I can remember those days for sure. Yeah. So tell me about the decision to change your trajectory in life from, healthcare to sports media.
Yeah, obviously not very unconventional to what a lot of people do as far as going along their life path. COVID, I think, is what really changed things. So I was going to med school in the Caribbean and the island was getting shut down. Our school got shut down. We moved back home. And at that age, I was around, I think now, like 26, 27 years old. Moving back home with your parents isn't always the most fun, especially during COVID, especially while you're studying, 12 hours a day. And I re-downloaded Twitter and I was just, tweeting about the Giants, tweeting about whatever it was. And it kind of took off. I was like, oh, I'm having fun. This is fun. And a Giants site reached out to me. They're like, would you be interested in writing an injury report for us? I was like, sure, no problem. For free? Yeah, I don't care. It doesn't matter. I don't need any money. It's not a big deal. And then one thing led to another. And then, that led to fantasy intervention for, the OGs that remember those days, me, Dave Kluge, Chase, like that. Those were good times. And then that led to FTN, that led to Champions Round, that led me to here. So it's been a crazy ride for sure. It's not something that I ever expected. I didn't even know that people were monetizing off of, this was just a hobby and a passion of mine. And I love to talk sports. And it was, hard growing up because girls don't watch sport. I was always the girl that was into that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And when I realized I had the opportunity, I was like, wow, I am busting my butt. And I'm someone that likes to give something 100%. That's if I'm doing something, I'm doing it 100%. But what I was doing was I was being 50% a creator and 50% a student. And you can't do that. So I talked to my dean. I was like, hey, I think I maybe need to take the semester off once a full-time offer type deal approached me. So it's been a crazy ride. It's definitely very different from everyone else's.
Yeah, no, it's been fun to witness. Obviously, there's been a lot of highs. There's been some challenges along the way, but it's been cool to see you kind of work through it all and come back bigger and better and stronger than before. I remember, just seeing you bring that energy back. And it was fun to see you kind of just get back to yourself, which has been great. I'm always entertained when a tweet of yours comes through, for sure. Now you're on your own show. You recently launched the Stephie Smalls Show. Yeah. Tell me about how excited you are about that project and where that's headed.
Yeah, I'm really excited. You make a lot of mistakes. I am someone that has made quite a few in my past. I'm going to make mistakes moving forward. But one thing that I didn't do when I first came into this industry is I kind of always attached myself to a company once I fully committed in. So it's fun to be on my own now. So this is my brand, my company, my producer at Champions Round. So when Champions Round kind of went a different direction and, we all got laid off in June or May, it was one of the two. And my producer was like, hey, we have something here. Let's just do our own thing. Let's figure it out. We took the summer. We got, he is fantastic, has an Emmy, not to brag, my producer has an Emmy. Awesome. But yeah, it's exciting. We didn't have a lot of expectations going into it. I think we're still working out a lot of the kinks. There's a lot of trial and error in this industry. I think people don't realize that when they go in, you're going to fail more than you're going to succeed before you get to a place that you feel comfortable. And even then, you should never feel comfortable. You should always be pushing towards something better. So it's been awesome. We live stream 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We'll probably start doing a little bit more of the short form, but I just wanted to do this right. It's nice to have my name on something that's mine. And for a while, I was attached to companies, like I said, companies that I owe a lot to because they gave me opportunities, but I wasn't building my brand on the side outside of Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's awesome to see for sure. And you certainly have a lot of passion for not just fantasy football, but player props and sports wagering and golf in addition to fantasy football. Where do those passions come from?
Yeah, it's so one of my favorite creators, Pat Mayo, is someone that I listened to for a while. He dabbled in the golf thing. I moved to Michigan and I joined a season-long golf fantasy team. So yes, and this is one that's been around since 1990. So it's on paper, not what you would expect. It's not something that's on an app. And I just got hooked that first season. And golf is really cool because it's such an independent sport, and that's not something you can say about any other sport. So it's on that guy's shoulder. How they perform is how they do. It doesn't matter. There's not a lot of environmental factors that come into it. So golf is it's been a blast to just follow, to bet on. I got lucky probably the first year. That gets you hooked too. So that's a piece of it. And then the Chiefs Tampa Super Bowl, I bet on, my first bet ever was Gronk first touchdown.
Nice.
And it hit. So it gets you hooked, but then it's not as fun moving forward.
I love it. So how is your actual golf game? Because you actually want to play a lot too, right?
I do. And where my trophies are somewhere, they're not behind me. I took them down because I think I've been showing them off a little bit, but no, it's not that good. I just started a year. This is my second year playing. It's getting there. Golf is frustrating because it's a head game too. You get in your head and you can go a different direction. But yeah.
What club is the most challenging for you?
I don't know what it is this season. And I think it seems like this might be consistent with a lot of beginners where my driver was really good. For some reason this year, it hasn't been that good. And then even my irons, my 5-iron is not, it's not my favorite. I just avoid it. Sometimes there's some stuff in my bag. I'm like, we're just going to ignore you for a little bit.
That sounds like golf for sure. I love it. Let's talk a little bit about the fantasy sports community. Yeah. Obviously, we've experienced stuff like the expo. Yeah. What has your expo experience been like? And obviously, you also attended the FSGA conference this year, right? So how have those experiences been for you?
Yeah, it's awesome. Like even being able to meet you and then seeing you again, like you can
over
connect.
And over and over. Right?
It's so cool though because you connect with these people, and they feel like you're friends. We have virtual friends. People think we're crazy when we say that, but then being able to connect the face with the interactions, with the relationship, with just it makes it feel real. So anytime that I'm able to go to that stuff, being able to network, being able to meet new people, being able to meet people where, maybe their Twitter doesn't appeal to you, but then you meet them and you're like, oh crap, they're kind of a cool person. Because I think that it's hard to sometimes for some people to get their personality fully out. And sometimes I will say, like even my Twitter, it's definitely a massive exaggeration of my personality. Probably it's more because we don't say every thought that we have. We don't react certain ways. So something can look like something at face value, but being able to connect with people and like meeting, some of your best friends, like Dave Kluge and Jeff Bell are like two of my best friends, and being able to see them and knowing that like I met them online is hilarious.
No, truly. My wife always makes fun of me for my, internet friends, right? But like I've seen these people multiple times. If I can count, on my hand multiple times, like they're legit friends now.
Yeah.
That's so funny. So funny. So let's talk about like the actual game of fantasy football. To me, that foundation is that league experience. I love, the league experience so much. What do you love the most about fantasy sports and fantasy football particularly?
Yeah, I think the community is it. I think there's two aspects to it. One, and we, now it's a little bit different with this generation, but it's nice to get invested in different games and it's nice to have your hands in different games. So I think this generation, a lot of them, they very much like players more than they like teams. So it may not stand true for them, but, for us, it's very nice to be like, oh, awesome. I have something to root for in this game, which is kind of the appeal to gambling. But I think the community itself, like being able to interact and bond over the sport itself, having guys to root for, going head to head. Like I love the crap talking and all of that. Like and there's so much variability. I think no one really talks about that a lot too. You could draft a roster that looks perfect. By week 4, you're done for the season because of your injuries.
Yeah, especially a season like this. Like the key is adapting, right? Yeah. Like draft is one thing, but you have to draft. You have to adapt to survive with a season like this. So I totally understand that. Yeah. Now, do you have a favorite home league that you play in?
So I would say right now, well, I have a few with some Twitter friends that I do love a lot, but this year I started an all women's league. We had a live draft at home and I'm getting my butt kicked, right? Like forget the fantasy sports analyst that's just getting absolutely mollywomped in this league. But it's been really cool to be able to, it's hard to get that many females to sit down and do a live draft. Like to me, that's one of my proudest moments of my career. None of these girls are in the space. Like to get this entire community of females together and they're invested, like seeing them involved and, their boyfriends thank me too. Cause now Sundays are a little bit more fun. Like they have something to root for.
That's awesome. That was a cool story.
Yeah.
Now, did you guys do like a special live draft, or is it local, or is it across the? You did.
Yeah,
okay.
No.
Okay.
So I held a live draft, and I think one thing even about my content, I've always wanted to be inclusive. Like I can get into the numbers with you, and we can talk about. We can use terms that not everyone would understand. It's just not the way that I roll with my content. I want people to. It should be easily digestible for anyone that watches my content. So, and I did that with this league too, made it very simple. And I told them every year we're going to add a rule. So this year,
nice.
The starting year, we just did a 3rd round reversal.
Okay.
So next year, I'm not sure what I'm going to add. I noticed that they are hoarding quarterbacks and tight ends. So I'm going to have to find a way to overcome that a little bit here. But it's cool. Like everyone was so excited, hosted like a big breakfast.
Cool.
It was a blast. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's something, in my experience, I mean, you just kind of can build on it each year, make the league draft experience just bigger and bigger, and it's something that everybody looks forward to. So I'm happy you found a league like that you can really enjoy, because again, that's the foundation of this game. That's what makes it so special. That's what makes it more unique than just props and wagers.
There's nothing better than a live draft. Yeah, there's something about that is just absolutely awesome.
I love it. I love it. Now, do you have any plans for like a last place punishment?
I don't know. I should have done that prior, but then I'm nervous now because maybe I won't add one this year because I'm going to end up getting last place.
Oh, that's funny.
No, that's a good. Yeah, I did not think of anything yet.
And that's the kind of thing where each year you can kind of add a new element. So introduce like a last place. I don't want to scare
anyone off of this league.
Yeah. So obviously you want to find one that's a little more tame, still fun, right? You want to fear that last place, finish, but you also want people to come back. Exactly. So I get it for sure. So when it comes to the actual game of football, obviously 2023 is off to a crazy start.
Yeah.
What's your overall impression thus far?
It's been a wild year. I think there is a very big divide between bad football and good football happening in the league, a little bit more than I think we've seen in the last couple of years. And this middle tier hasn't necessarily declared themselves yet, because I think there's some bad teams that are actually better than their record is showing you. And then you've got some good teams that maybe they're not necessarily as good as maybe we're seeing, because I don't know, something about the schedule making seems a little bit off this year. I don't know if that's just me being salty because of the Giants schedule, but it's been a fun year. It's been a challenging year, especially as fantasy comes. You have to be on your stuff. You like playing waivers every week. We're not getting away with anything.
Yeah, and that's where I think that again, just with having to adapt, I feel like fab management is more of an issue, or more of a topic that needs to be hit hard with content creators, just kind of surviving the season, getting through it and figuring out how to be proactive with moves so that you don't have to spend that special fab money that you got. Right. So what do your Giants got to do to course correct, like short term, long term?
I don't know. It's interesting with the Giants. It's been probably the most frustrating year since maybe 2021. So again, hasn't been that long. We're kind of used to this at this point. I think what's unfortunate is the Giants defense, and I've been saying this over and over again, they're a good defense, and it sucks because it's getting overlooked because of how poor the offensive play is. I think what people are forgetting is they are without, their starting left tackle. They're without their starting center. Saquon Barkley just got back. We saw him not at full health. I think that this team still ends up winning a couple more games than people expect. Their win total has dropped down to 4.5. I think they sneak out 5 wins probably, just because they're not a full, complete team. The play calling's been interesting. It's a bad year. That Arizona game really pushed me. I'm glad that we pulled it out, but it's frustrating to see the play calling isn't consistent. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and it's tricky, obviously, with those win totals to figure out the quarterback position. Obviously, you've been a Daniel Jones fan, right? I don't know what do you want to do in the future, in the short and long term with Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I think that Daniel Jones has not gotten, and I sound like someone that's making excuses, and that's fine. But if you're a PFF person, you look at what his O-line grade has been since he started. His best O-line grade he's had was when he started in the league, and I think it's 2019, right? And then it's 17th, 29th, 29th, 30th, 31st. We were predicted to have the 23rd, I think it was 23rd ranked. They're dang near last in the league right now. So that O-line play has been bad. Justin Pugh is back. Hilarious.
Yeah, off the
Everyone
couch,
saw
right?
that straight off the couch, making me feel young again. Our first rounder from 2013, but he stepped in, and again, like our backup left tackle went down. He wasn't even the true backup left tackle, and then Justin Pugh just got kicked over to left tackle, which is not what he is used to doing. So, and he's also 1 year removed from an ACL. So the Giants have problems, but I think at the same time, they had a tough schedule. They've played the 49ers. They've played the Cowboys. Seahawks even are a tough team. So the Giants have a lot to figure out. They should have addressed the O-line going into the season. They decided not to do that. So we'll see.
Here we go. So can you name a quarterback that has surprised you thus far, either negatively or positively, and then maybe a quarterback that you expect to have a strong finish the rest of the way?
Yeah, I think CJ Stroud stands out. I really like what the Houston Texans are doing. I think that the Houston Texans have done it right. You know, they bring over Ryans. That was probably my favorite coaching signing of the offseason. And you know, they made moves to show you we want to win games now. Like we're looking towards the future, but we still want to be competitive. And this team, they've got money to spend, before the trade deadline. And I think they're tough. They're a feisty team. CJ Stroud is showing us he is right now looking like the best quarterback out of that draft. He seems so unfazed by everything. So I'm really impressed by him. Not that I was low on him. You know, he was getting drafted very, very low. But in the places I have him, I'm very happy. I think he has weapons there the weapons he has, he is making good use of them.
For sure. Yeah. They seem like they're really, really well coached.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. So how about a couple running backs that you've been surprised about so far, and a couple running backs that you expect to have strong finishes?
Yeah, definitely. Like A-Chain is a little bit upsetting there with that. I did in one league. I was kind of desperate. I spent all my fab on him. So a little bit upset with that. Would like to see Saquon stay healthy. James Conner, I think, despite the injury here, I think that people love to be low on James Conner because of the injuries, but when he is playing, he is a very dominant back.
Yeah, I know he's super talented, always underrated, underappreciated, but he gets the job done when he's playing.
Yeah. And love to see DeAndre Swift. Honestly, love to see DeAndre Swift thriving.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we saw even during Hard Knocks, you could tell like something was off between like himself and the front office and that regime over there. So seeing him thrive despite it being, on a rival's team is awesome to see.
Yeah, it's great. You want to see, there's always those players that have so much hype. Everyone's excited about. The fantasy community is excited about. Yeah. You hate to see those guys bust. Yeah. And a guy like that with so much talent, you want to see them have some success. So 100%. I love it. How about a couple wide receivers that again have either surprised you or guys that you think will finish strong this year?
Jahan Dotson's very disappointing this year. I will be honest. We're at the point where we can all safely drop him, I believe. The involvement is so minimal that I think we were all very seduced by the preseason games and that one game that he had. What was it? His receiving yards were crazy and we all got excited, and Sam Howell and Dotson have this connection, but obviously that's not panning out. I think someone I'm looking forward to, and I'll be a homer here because I'm allowed to, and Wan'Dale Robinson is someone that I look forward to the rest of the year. Every time he is on the field, when he is getting targets, he's having meaningful plays. I think he will have a lot of success, especially looking at their schedule moving forward. Josh Downs, another guy I was much higher on, I think, than most people. He's starting to get a little bit more involved. It does stink quarterback wise, what we're seeing. And then Nico Collins, that's someone that I went back. One of my first TikToks about fantasy football was trying to get people to draft him in Dynasty. And I've been on this kid for so long. And now that he has CJ Stroud, very impressed. Yeah,
he's playing well, very much to the potential that a lot of people, hope for him, for sure. How about a tight end? A tight end that has, surprised you, and a tight end that you think will finish strong this year?
Yeah. Pitts has been killing me a little bit for some time here. It seems like we got a little bit. I'm not going to get too excited yet because I think there's a little bit too much volatility as far as the Falcons offense goes. Ertz remaining, gun-ho. Hunter Henry is another one that's been having, but it's Jonnu Smith, I think, because here's the thing with Jonnu Smith, and I've said this a couple of times. One of my worst calls ever was when he got signed to the Patriots, that big deal. They brought on Hunter Henry, and I was so confident. I'm like, we're going to get these 2 tight end sets. We're going to see what we saw with Hernandez and with Gronk, and it's going to be awesome. It was not a narrator. It was not awesome at all. So that is nice to see at least. And I think even people are a little bit too low on Waller. A lot of that is there. He's blocking a lot. I think his time is to still come. Sam Laporta, love to see it. Musgrave, I'm not totally sold on quite yet. I know that everyone is, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's kind of a cap to what he can do this year.
Yeah.
But it's fun to see like a Laporta obviously doing his thing. It's cool. Yeah. It's cool to have some hope for rookie tight ends right in the future potentially. So
100%.
So let's dive into some rapid fire questions. Are you game for that? All right. So what do you love most about what you're doing right now?
Being able to be myself and connect. I like connecting with people. Just any way that I can connect with others is my favorite.
How about handling internet trolls?
Yeah, internet trolls, and I obviously struggle with that for some time for people that have followed me for a little bit. I think learning that those people, and Matt Harmon is actually someone that came on our Friday show, another throwback here, and said, like, when you shut your phone and you turn away, they don't matter. I think also giving some people grace, because I don't know what's going on in their life. I don't know why you're attacking me, what the problem is. And the block and mute button are very, very useful. I think for a while, I struggled a lot. And I used to be very upset. It used to get to me. But at the end of the day, my people know who I am. I don't care who, Adam 420, 60, whatever it is, thinks about me. And I think that trolls are out. They're pursuing to make you upset. And as long as you don't give them that, I learned to not answer. Just don't answer them. Just ignore it. Mute, block, do it.
Yeah, definitely a good strategy. What have you learned most about yourself over the past 5 years?
I think that being able to, one, I'm very resilient and I'm proud of myself for that. I think a lot of people probably wouldn't be able to, take chances on themselves and forgive themselves for things. And I think just looking and being able to see that you're not always going to be right, and that's okay. And the person that's arguing with you, even it doesn't matter. Like they're arguing on their side. They're not going to always see your side. So I think remaining true to myself has been something that was hard in the beginning, but now I'm just proud to be who I am. And if you don't like it, that's okay.
I love it. Yeah. Resilience. I love that. That's great. Share some thoughts on being the daughter of a proud and supportive girl dad.
Yes, my father is the best. I love it. I don't know what my Twitter apparently attracts, replies that, are kind of nasty, saying, oh, her dad, just tell me more. Your dad wasn't in the picture. I have the best father in the world. That's one thing I will fight anyone on. My dad is the most selfless, beautiful, amazing human being that I hope for everyone in the world that they have a dad like mine. So some of that is a little bit kind of a punch at some of these trolls than they always have in their profile, girl dad. But I really am. Like my father is the most fantastic human. Sometimes I just don't feel worthy. I always joke with him. I wish you loved me less. Like He is so supportive, so fantastic. He is, very selfless human being. And I wish there was more Marks in the world. Like he's awesome. Fantastic. Yeah.
And he's a physical therapist. Is that right?
He is. Yeah. He's a physical therapist, owns his own practice. And, he's the type of guy where he opens his practice, one, he goes in on Sundays because that's, people work and he recognizes that, but they need to get treated. So he opens his practice on Sundays. He also goes in, he's the guy that goes in at 5 a.m. for a patient because they have to go before their shift. So twice a week, he starts at 6 a.m. And he stays till 9 twice a week because he just wants to give everything to everyone. I'm like, Dad, we're working on, cutting back. We're getting a little old here, right? Like we gotta take some rest off here. I get it, but you're a little bit too old to own your own business and not be taking days off here.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, that's cool. I mean, I strive to be the girl dad that he is. So that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Now share with the audience why you have 3 L's in Smalls on your Twitter X profile.
I do. It's my favorite dad joke here. So couldn't get the Stephie Smalls with 2 L's and 3 L's. I'm like, we got to come up with a bit for everything here. So the 3 L's are Tom Brady's 3 L's. He has 2 to my New York Giants and 1 to Nick Foles, who I actually went to college with. So I was a freshman when he was a junior at University of Arizona. He's actually behind me, but he has a Jacksonville jersey on and his little stuffy there. But yeah.
That's awesome. No, I love that for sure. Now, name a person in the fantasy industry that you'd want to watch a football game with just to hear their insight and perspective on the game.
That's a good one. I'd probably bring it back to, I think about Matt Waldman and Matt Harmon. I think those guys they think about things in a way that I don't think about them. So being able to sit there and watch them dissect a game would probably be a blast.
So you get 2 Matts. I like that. that. That's good.
Yeah.
Name 2 people that you would love to tailgate with before a game.
Gosh, it has to be, listen, Corey Parsons is my guy. Fantasy exec. I will give a shout out. If you do not follow Corey, he is not only in my mind one of the brightest people in this space. He is just a good human. He's just awesome. He's hilarious. And it probably would be, I'd probably love to do it with Lord Don't Lose. His other, the 2 of them are a blast and 2 of the brightest people in this space and absolutely adore them. It would be so much fun.
I like that. That's good. Name a few people that have had just a massive impact on you during your journey within the fantasy sports industry.
Yeah, I mean, this list there's so many people that have had such a significant impact. I think, I mentioned Pat Mayo before. He's someone that I listened to a really long time. The SGPN guys, Ryan Kramer and, Sean Green, they're another, I joke that they're the reason why I dropped out of med school. Obviously not completely their fault. Brad Evans is someone that I talked to a lot, when I was deciding to go to FTN. And, Lisa Ann, everyone knows, one of my dearest friends. She's been such a big mentor to me. She really, puts me in my place when I need it. She gives me the best advice. Dave and Jeff. I mean, this list could be crazy. I would be remiss to not also include Chase Payne, who gave me the opportunity at Champions Round when, not everyone was looking to hire me at the time. And even Ray G, like those are the names that immediately pop into my head. Andy Behrens. I mean, we could go on and on.
Great. Absolutely outstanding list. That's for sure. Yeah. What advice do you have for aspiring fantasy sports analysts and people that are looking to get more involved in the industry and do similar things that you're doing?
Be true to yourself. Be ready to fail. Just do it and find your niche and fall into that. Try not to be too cookie cutter because, the best advice I ever got was from, Matthew Berry. And he said, the bet, like no one can be better at being you than you. So I'm going to be the best Stephie Smalls that I can because that's what I'm good at. I'm not trying to be, the Matthew Berrys of the world, the Dave Kluges of the world. I'm just going to be myself because that's what I'm great at. And you have to accept that not everyone's going to like that. And that's okay. You don't have to like me. And I think a lot of that too, even when I first started it's hard to, come to terms with the fact that not everyone's going to like you. So just be yourself. The people that don't like you. Cool.
It's great advice. Absolutely perfect advice. So what are your goals next 5-10 years? Where is Stephie Smalls going?
That's a great question. Hopefully to a Giants Super Bowl, but blowing this channel up and just continuing to, once again, this is obviously the theme, just staying true to myself and and growing this show in a way that I want to, showing my personality. I think a lot of the, creators and analysts that I named, I was drawn to them because they're not afraid to show their personality. It's okay. So I think people that are able to put that on display is awesome. So just staying true to that, blowing this up, go to a Giants Super Bowl. We'll see.
I love it. That's great. So, well, Steph, obviously it's been a pleasure to have you here. Is there anything we haven't covered before we close things out?
I don't think so. You're fantastic. I hope everyone is subscribing and listening to this on a regular basis, because you're one of the kindest people in this industry, and I hope you know that.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Again, absolute pleasure having you here. This was a ton of fun. Yeah. Can't wait to see what you have in the future. Now, let's obviously, tell people where they can find you. Let us know what your content lineup and schedule is like right now.
Yes, you're fantastic. I thank you again for having me on. Comes full circle. It's funny, to be back here after meeting so many years ago, meeting in person, whatever it is. Yeah. So, but you guys can find me at Stephie Smalls with 3 L's, the Stephie Smalls Show on YouTube, and then across social media platforms. But I'm always posting on Twitter. You can find it amongst a lot of my tweets at some point, but I do push out whatever content is going on, and stay tuned for updates. Might have stuff on the horizon that's coming up. So we'll see.
Absolutely. Well, make sure you're following Steph. She's amazing. So entertaining. So much fun. Great content. You will be entertained for sure.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Football Unlimited podcast. Until next time, be sure to follow and subscribe to all of FFU's social media accounts for daily content.